So today is the day painting the Corvette. Alright guys, it's Wednesday morning. Corvette is in the booth. I got the tires off. I drove it onto a sheet of plastic and then put it up on jack stands. And I'm just tacking all the plastic up in the wells. So all the dirt and stuff that's under the car stays. I'm gonna finish masking it. I gotta blow this whole thing off. I ended up going over the whole car again in 400 yesterday just to make sure that when we were putting it in there wasn't any like scratches from us working on it, which there was. And I found a couple more cracks, so I addressed those yesterday. My paint should be getting here today. I'm probably not gonna be painting today, but I will be painting tomorrow, hopefully for sure. So I'm gonna blow this booth out again really well, blow the car off really well. Get it all really clean, and then I'm gonna go at masking this thing and we're gonna get it all masked up so it's ready to go for tomorrow. I still have to sand the two like inner light bezels when the headlights flip up. There's like these two little panels. And I originally wasn't gonna paint them, but they were kind of in rough shape, but I sandblasted them because they had multiple layers of like flaking paint because they weren't prepped properly the last couple times, and so I've got them sitting in primer. They're a little rough, so I gotta do some work to them as well, but I'm gonna get this car messed up and then I'll work on those for the rest of my day. But for now I'm just gonna put you guys on time lapse because this is, well, for now until I start masking, but I gotta clean out this booth, and anyways, it's just boring to watch, but I'll put you guys on time lapse. Oh, motor update. Actually, before I do that, so basically everything on the motor is buttoned up except for one wire. I got a wire into the fuse box. Still waiting on that new distributor, but it should be here soon, and that's not a big deal. So just pop the distributor out. And then I have to route the wires, or the spark plug wires better, to make sure that they're out of the way of the headers, but I'm not going to do that until the new distributor's on. And then I couldn't get a lower rad hose because AC Delco had a bunch of wrong labeled rad hoses, so every time I ordered the right rad hose, they'd send me a wrong one, and who knows what the one I needed part number is now because it's been mislabeled. So Gilbert's Parts actually was able to track me down on a bottom rad hose, so I went and picked that up yesterday after work. Thank goodness for Gilbert. It's also my first time dealing with Gilbert since I was like a kid in high school because they have a Gilbert's in Enderby, but anyways, super nice guys, it's awesome. So yeah, I still have to get an upper rad hose. I'm gonna have to take the rad hose that's on it now in, because when I changed the housing to the right housing for the intake, the rad hose, anyways, it isn't long enough. So I need to get an upper one still. Bottom one's here, and then I just gotta put the rad hoses on, the fan shroud on, and then yeah, distributor and that one wire, and the whole motor's buttoned up, except for fluids. Honey, get out of here. No. We're gonna shed monster. Wiping dog hair off of these vehicles before you paint them too is damn near impossible because of the static. Anyway, so all that's basically done. After we get it painted, I'm hoping that the distributor gets here like Monday, and then we can fire this thing up and hopefully it runs. Fingers crossed. Alright guys, you're going to see me mask up some of the chrome on that top of the doors and the top of these Targa tops. Normally we would take all the chrome off, that's how you would do it properly. However, this car's already been painted once with the chrome on, and it's already got a ridge, and if I take this off, one, you're risk bending the chrome, and somebody's already painted with it on, so you're just going to end up like chipping the edge of that paint and having to repair the edge. So because this is just a splash and dash and this is what Matt wants, I'm going to just mask the chrome again, and that's all this is going to get. Yeah, if we were going further with this, definitely would be taking the chromes off, but it's just not worth it for this one. And yeah, somebody's already painted up to it, which basically glued these in place anyways. So we're just gonna work around them. So you guys see me masking up in the door jambs. You might see me running something like this. This is called transition tape. Because I'm not painting the inners, I still want to have kind of a faded edge there. If you wanted a crisp edge, you use something like this. This is fine line. This is really bendable. You can get into make it bend into a bunch of funky shapes without ripping the paint. So it's good for door jambs because door jambs are really wonky sometimes, or you can use this for pinstripe or whatever, but sometimes I run this in my jams, and so that after I'm done painting, I generally run this on the top of my tape. I can peel this off, so that when my paint, and I do that while the paint's still wet, because if you do it while the paint is dry, sometimes you can rip the clear off of that edge. So fine line's also good to run on your edges for that fact of being able to peel it off after you're done painting. Without having to like unmask everything, you just pull the blue off, and then if you do it with your clear coat still wet enough, it kind of like rolls that edge there. So this is a good option, but this is what I'm using, and this is called transition tape. I haven't used it a whole lot, but I do really like it, and it's really good for applications like this where I kind of want it to blend into the door jamb. And so basically all this is like a plastic tape, and it's got one sticky strip down the center. I don't know if you can see that, but the edges are clear. Only the center bit is sticky, and then the edges here kind of just are little flaps of plastic, and these little flaps of plastic on the side of the sticky part make it so that when you spray the paint there, the paint can kind of mist under this plastic flap but not go by the adhesive strip, and so that kind of gives you like a very small blended edge. So this is also a good option. This is what I've been using to do the door jambs on this car. And then obviously everything else is just regular masking tape. Well, automotive masking tape. Paint and stuff is very corrosive, so you want to make sure that you're using the right tape for the job, because you don't want to paint over something maybe like a house painter's tape, which is not, doesn't hold up to the kind of chemical that we use. So this is automotive. This is by 3M. There's a bunch of different tape companies out there that do all this. And then the other thing is your masking paper. I just actually want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on the masking paper. There's actually 2 different kinds of masking paper. One is solvent resistant and one is not, and I learned that the hard way. So if you have solvent resistant paper, when you spray paint on it, none of the chemical is going to leach through to the back side of that paper, because one side will almost have like a waxy finish. And so you can lay that paper over other painted surfaces and know that it would be good there. This green stuff right here, this is not solvent proof, so this is really good still for like going around the plastic in the door jambs. But if I were to be masking over a spot on the corner like this, and I was just gonna have paper here, this paper wouldn't work because the solvent would leach through to the clear on the other side and could mess with the other stuff. So make sure that you're using the right masking paper for the job. Remember your chunk that is solvent proof so you guys can see the difference. So this is solvent proof paper. This blue side, it's like kind of really shiny. This makes it so that the solvents that are in the paint can't leak through. So this is actually a solvent proof paper, whereas this is not. So make sure that you're using the right paper for the application. This stuff is cheaper and it's good for almost everything except for if you're going to be like doing a blend panel up in the wheel wells and stuff, like it's not getting solvent on it. But if you're going to be placing just this paper over top of another painted surface to protect it, make sure that you're using a coated one. I made that mistake last year doing a 2-tone on the side of a truck bed. Big mistake. Big mistake, big mess up. The solvent leached through, created a huge mess. So that was a live and learning kind of moment. I didn't even know all the shops I ever worked at, they all use this blue. So just had never run into that issue before. So I thought I would give you guys that tip because it really sucks. You don't have the right paper in the right places. But yeah, and then I've also been using duct tape. Masking tape is not super sticky, and it is like that for a reason, so you don't peel up your surfaces underneath and stuff like that on you know, more sensitive paints or freshly painted stuff. But on the underneath side of the car, it's always really dusty and dirty, and we try our best to wipe it off, but sometimes the tape just like doesn't stick very well. So I've tacked up all of my plastic in the wheel wells and underneath the car using duct tape. I find it just sticks better for longer, and I mean, I've done this with lots of cars. Lots of people use duct tape. I only ever use duct tape on the underneath side. It can leave residue behind, so you definitely don't want to be putting this on the outside. The only time I ever use duct tape for masking is like masking over top of stuff, is if you're like masking like bed liner and stuff like that. Duct tape's good to use because it kind of just like gets into all those crevices. But yeah, for the underneath side of the car, also all underneath side of this is fiberglass, and it's like kind of like a raw fiber, not raw, but like a textured fiberglass all on the underneath side of the car. So that plus the dirt means that my tape doesn't really stick well to it, and I definitely don't want the paper or plastic to blow off while I'm painting, because then I'm going to end up with a lot of dust. So duct tape is a good friend here as well, so I thought I'd just give you that little tape trick while I finish masking up the car. And I'm going to slap you guys back on time lapse, and Mike's at the dentist right now, and I still need him to help me put the hood on, but I'm going to mask the hood up where it is, and the base masked up. I started messing with the front headlights because I needed to get, I'm actually going to show you the issue I'm having before I put you on time lapse. So basically, one of the headlights is like slightly down, so I just have to adjust it up so it's flush. But the other issue that I'm running into is that the headlight bezel, when it goes up on the back side, it's catching the lip on this front nose, so it keeps catching right here, you can see how you're gonna sand this edge. I'm actually gonna try to strip this back edge too before I mask it. But as I go up, let me just, sorry, one second. So as I go up, it hits there. And it's not, I've got it as moved out as I can, so it's not catching at this very moment. But you can see where it was catching. And even though it's not touching at the moment, there's not a whole lot of clearance there. So by the time I spray my sealer, my base coat, and my 2 coats of clear or 3 coats of clear, that tolerance is going to be eaten up. And so this car's already been painted quite a few times, so I'm thinking that maybe that there's just too much material. So I'm going to try to strip that edge back a little bit. But I've moved it as forward as it can be. And I mean, when they sit, you still want them to have nice gaps, and I've got it basically as close as it can get here at the front. And for some reason, even with that gap being as big as it is, it's still touching there. So I'm going to strip that edge back again. You see my mess of springs down here. So in order to adjust these up, this is sitting like this, like just slightly low. So all I want to do in my adjustment is bring this up so that this line is flush with the car. So that's where I want it to sit. And so there's an adjuster arm back here. It's this guy right here. You guys can see that very well, can you? Sorry about the camera. So this adjuster arm right here, it's basically like a little shock. And so it's got adjustable threads on it. And so I just gotta thread that out more, and that's gonna bring that light further up, and then I'll just put the pins and the springs back on. But yeah, that back edge I can't get any better. So after I finish adjusting that more up and putting all that back together, I'm just gonna strip those back edges and see if that gives me a little bit more clearance. This car has been painted at least twice the same blue, and it still has green paint, the original color, underneath of it in some spots, but it's definitely been painted twice. And they painted this car with single stage, and single stage is a lot thicker than, you know, base clear, especially because they didn't do, generally with single stage you only have to do 1 to 2 coats. It looks like each time they painted it, they did 3 coats, so like the paint's really thick, and in the spots where the paint was chipped, like it's pretty deep there. So I'm hoping that once I strip that, I'm gonna get rid of that issue, but I'm gonna do that last because I just wanna get the car basically finished masking up, and then I'll fight with that. And then my paint's still not here, so I figure I can put my time until the paint gets here just fixing that little piece. And I still have to sand the light bezels, but I'm not too worried about those because I can always paint those afterwards as well. And they need some work. Yeah, okay, now I'm gonna slap you guys back on time lapse. Alright guys, so today is the day painting the Corvette. It's all masked up and ready. I just blew out the booth again. My paint still isn't here yet. Basically, the people who were getting to mix it didn't have one of the right toners, I guess, and so somebody in Vancouver mixed it for us, and it's being shipped here, but it should be on the delivery truck this morning. However, it is snowing pretty good outside, so I'm gonna pray that it gets here. These are basically lint-free cloths. So I'm gonna wipe the car down once more with final wash using these lint-free rags, and then I'm gonna wet the whole floor in here. Might wipe down the car even a second time after I wipe down the floor. We're gonna pray that there is no contamination because we put the motor in and we're working around it with grease. A lot of that open already sanded paint got grease on it, but I wiped every panel down 3 times and then I re-sanded basically the whole car and went over it for scratches and whatever. There's still probably going to be some rock chips and imperfections and stuff, but this is just a slash and dash. So I did go through, fill as many rock chips as I could with filler. I've chased all the cracks, so hopefully everything's all good. Hoping today goes smoothly, so I'm not here till midnight, but painting is just one of those things. It's also really cold outside, and because basically the air is drawn from outside, so it's gonna get really cold inside this booth, which is gonna make painting take longer. And also, I know that there's gonna be dust in the paint job. I'm just hoping that it's gonna be minimal dust. So yeah, just waiting on some paint, but I'm just gonna wipe down this car panel by panel. Said this in the past in my videos, when you're using final wash or waxing grease, you want a full fluid layer on your panel, and then you want to wipe in one direction on one side of your cloth until the whole panel is wiped. Then you want to flip it to the dry side and just continue wiping until that panel is completely dry. The reason you want a full fluid layer is because how this stuff works is it actually brings contamination up to the surface of that fluid layer, and so if you don't put enough on, you are going to be removing some of the oil, but potentially not as much as you need to. So fluid layer, wipe one direction, make sure that you're using lots of clean cloths every panel, change your cloth. Lint-free is what you want to be using for this, because you don't want any lint left behind on your panel after you're done wiping it, because obviously that's going to be in your paint job and that's a no-go. I don't like to use tack cloths anymore. I've had contaminations with using tack cloths in the past, so I just like to go for wet wipe with the lint free. So yeah, let's get at it. Can to clothes off, your arms are weak. So we're leaving things off. It turned out really good. Sometimes I surprise myself. A couple of runs. Well, there's 2 runs, but Minnesota. One of them is right there. I don't know if you can see it. Next one's right there. So, not too bad. Haven't painted in quite a while. But yeah, I was wrong. It's 6:30. So I'm gonna go home. Happy Friday, everybody. And that's it. We'll come in on Monday. Paint should be cured. I got the rad hoses. Still waiting on that distributor, but I got the rad hoses, so yeah. Finish buttoning up the motor probably Monday. It's just the 2 rad hoses, 1 wire, and the distributor. And then that's it. I should still have 2 light buzzers to paint too, but they're small. I haven't done with it yet. Okay. I've been in this suit since noon. My hands are ringing. So the sleeve on these. Yeah. Got ahead of myself there. I was getting real excited to go and I still have to clean this gun. Damn it. Anyways, I'm pretty stoked on how it turned out. I was expecting reaction, and anyways, no reactions. Everything looks good. Man, that was long though, and my arms hurt from holding up this paint gun, even though they're not very heavy, but put on 3 coats clear. It's actually not even too much texture in it. Like, it definitely like has texture, but not as much as I was expecting, which is good. And as it dries, the texture generally becomes less as well, so I think it's gonna end up being a pretty kick-ass paint job once it's dry. I'm so excited that we're near the end of this project. I'm so excited. Same gun for all 3 stages too, because why not? Oh, it turned out good. The 1.3 was missing. I should have brought my own paint guns with me, but they're still in barrier, and I know that we have lots here, but the 1.3 that I would normally use for this, the seal was missing out of the air tip, so I went with a 1.2, which is never my go-to, but everything turned out really good, so I'm kind of contemplating switching to the 1.2 tip for the Matrix products. I think that worked out really well. It's also not the base coat I'm used to spraying, and so it was a little bit of adjustment to get used to that. I did get like a couple of little runs on my base coat that I had to sand out, and the sealer too. I got one run in the sealer that I sorted, but a little fixable and not too bad. So aren't shut down because it snowed a shit ton all through last night and all through today. So wish me luck in my drive home because I almost ate the ditch this morning. Very close. But anyways, hoping the drive home's better. But thank you guys for watching. Thanks for hanging in there. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content. I'm super excited to be over with this one. I'm sure I look like absolute garbage too. It's been a long day and I got clear coat and all my fluffy hairs. Anyways, love you guys. Thanks for the support. It's been a great day. Have a good weekend.